Welcome to Unfiltered Awareness, a raw and authentic exploration that delves into the realms of consciousness, self-awareness, and transformation. Co-hosted by Celia Antonio and Lucie Cilia. Join us as we embark on thought-provoking conversation that challenge the norms and expand our understanding. Each episode is an edited conversation where we journey into these topics. We're so grateful you're here. Now let's dive in. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this new podcast episode. I am Lucie, and I am with my co-host Celia for this first episode of the Unfiltered Awareness. And we're very excited to be diving into a little bit about knowing who we are. And today we're actually going to be telling our journey through 5 of our favorite books. So I'm going to actually let you start with the first one, Celia. I'm like, there is one you showed me on Mark Follow. I'm like,
Oh, the one with all the tabs?
yes.
Okay, maybe I'll start with that one. Actually, I want to start with another one. I want to start with this one. It also has a bunch of tabs. It's Women Who Run with the Wolves. I love this book. I feel like this is a book that I just moved, so I don't have a nightstand yet, but I have one from IKEA that's like ready to be built. And I'm going to put this on top of there to have it like next to me when I go to bed every night because it's that good.
It is.
Yeah, I have a lot of things tabbed.
I don't have it there. You need to give me a second.
Yeah, I know that you just bought it. I saw that on one of your reels.
To my books anyway. Like most of them are my Kindle or Kindles for myself, but you know. We have the same one.
I have
it's the smaller version, I think. The one I have.
Oh, okay.
No?
I wonder what the difference is.
Yours is gold. This is gold. The photos.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a re-edition probably. So small.
I love it because like I've already read it through and it like took 9 months. First of all, that was a whole surrender because I'm usually blowing through books. So this book was really like slow down. Slow down, take it in. And because everything resonated so much when I open to a random page, what's highlighted is like when I see this, I'm like, oh, it's so good. I don't know if I should read something.
Do.
Okay. The splendid gift of women so attuned is to see, hear, sense, receive, and transmit images and ideas and feelings with lightning speed. In order to use these wild gifts, women remain open to all things. But it is this very openness that leaves their boundaries vulnerable, thereby exposing them to injuries of spirit. So good. I could just like read the whole thing for the podcast.
I did purchase the paper version, but I had the Audible version and actually loved it in Audible. And then after I finished it, I actually went online and they were saying it's an abridged version. It's not the full book. And I was like, okay, I need to get the paper one. And then when I got it, I was like, oh, I get it. That's probably takes 24 hours of reading because it's very small and it's very like there's a lot of things in it. And, like I love the Audible version of that book because she's singing in it as well. So it's just like so delicious. Yeah.
Yeah, you've told me that the Audible version is an experience.
It is.
So it's been on my wish list.
It is an experience for sure. Definitely, like the way she's transmuting the book, it definitely feels like you're, like when we were younger, I don't know if you had that, but like we had a narrator, like, he was like reading the book and like opening and turning the pages. That feels like this. Like, you're going to enter the universe of this story. And I'm like, yes, go for it.
I love it.
Thank you so much for sharing your first book.
What's your first book?
I don't have it in paper, but my first book is Becoming with a Q. It's not from Michelle Obama, which I never read. I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't know what it is.
I haven't read that yet either.
Yeah, it's Becoming with a Q, and it's a lot about like it's the same level of like surrendering. It's a story of a couple, but it's the going into the death of so many death and rebirth into becoming a couple, and like full devotion, like the real path of
Ooh.
devotion in relationship, which I never seen it said this way,
Mhm.
because that it's a lot of like you need to like let go of a lot of things about who you are when you enter a relationship, and choosing the person every single day. Not saying that you obliterating yourself, but you have to make compromise sometimes. And I love the this book for it, for sure.
Ooh, that sounds beautiful.
So good. It's really, it could be a bit challenging for some people because they do use harsh words, coarse language. Let's put it this
Mm.
way.
Mhm.
Um, and it's a bit like they do talk about polyamorous and all of that. They did explore a lot of things, but it's quite interesting to just seeing it, to read it, like hearing it, because I did read heard it on Audible. The way it has
Mhm.
been described were like the way. No, actually, no. My apologies. No, I never listened to it on Audible because I really wanted to read it. I had it on Kindle because I didn't want to be influenced by the voice. Because I feel like my whole
Mm.
body was like, I don't want to hear them because it was narrated by the authors. I don't want to hear them. I really want to sense the book. That was really,
Mm.
and just had a kitty coming. Hello.
Yeah. Yeah, you saw her.
I know, so cute. So yeah, that would be my first one.
I love that. I wrote it down on a Post-it on my never-ending list of books I want to read. I'm going to be reading until I go blind.
Put it in on your planner. You probably lose less on a stick.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. My
And
Empire
what's
Planner.
your second one?
The second book is so this is a book I read in 2019, right
Mm.
after I got engaged to my now husband. And with us, there really was kind of like some difference or friction in the realm of sexuality. And
Mm.
it was showing me like, oh wow, I need more mindfulness and I need to be more present and aware. So I found this book. Sorry guys, but I found it at the Brooklyn Library right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic happened, everything closed, and I moved, so I still have it. And it's called Madness to Mindfulness.
My God.
And it's basically she talks about like women's female sexuality and all of our conditioning and the kind of like common stories and common struggles for women in sexuality. And she gives a bunch of mindful practices to bring in when you connect with yourself and also within partnership. And this was, for me, this, like, I wanted to bring this book to this episode because for me, this was the first book that I've read that was about sexuality. Like I read this
Mm.
before any of the others. Like this was my starting point to a path that I'm still on now.
Well,
So, yeah,
believing it
I
or
love it.
not, this book showed up into, don't know, like a few days ago. I saw the,
Really?
the title somewhere, and when you said it, I was like, "Ooh, I saw this title somewhere," and my body was like, "Oh, you need this book." That is
Yeah,
fun. Oh,
it's good.
definitely need to add
Has
this.
it also has journal questions.
Ooh, okay.
And the first time I read it, because I've read it 3 times, I think. The first time I read it, I just read it through. The second time I read it, I did the journal questions, and I remember I think it was like the first journal question. No, not the first one. But there were some journal questions where I wrote it down and then I just started crying. So like it really helped me process through a lot.
Mm,
I highly
that's great.
recommend
I
it.
love that. Yay. No, I'm blown away by all the books, and like I can see you with stickies and highlighting the books. I'm like, I'm such old fashioned. I can't, like, I have Kindles because I can highlight on Kindle, but I would never write on my books. I'm that kind of weirdo.
I used to be like that too, like never write on my books. And for some of them, I am a little picky. Like I'll just do a sticky and I won't write.
Okay,
Or I'll
that's
do a
actually
larger sticky and write a note because I won't.
that
But
that I
but
could get behind, but like I
yeah.
just don't know. Right now, I'm not ready. I have a friend that lended me one of her book from John D. Martini. Value Factor is like massively highlighted, like it's like, you have lines and you have like stickies and everything, and I'm like, oh, I admire you, but like if I had the book brand new like this one, I would be like, I cannot write in this.
Yeah.
It's a sacredness book. Like
Mhm.
everything for me is this like, and again, there's nothing wrong for writing in it, but I'm like not ready for it. I would get the Kindle version and go on the Kindle. I liked
Mhm.
it if I needed
Yeah.
to. But yeah, my second one, and actually I have it in a paper copy. I bought it, I read it, I listened to it on Audible, but I bought it on copy. And you heard me about this, talking about this one, The Second Mountain
Oh, yeah, you've
by
told me about this
David
one.
Brooks. It's, oh my God, like the way it's written, like it's actually lovely because on the beginning of this book, like he wrote around other books, but this one is a very different journey than the way he used to write, like create books, because he's from a very logical man driven kind of thing. Is like the stories about the second mountain is the first mountain, you take it, you gravitate it, and you plan on going onto the top. And some
Mhm.
people go onto the top and realize that there is nothing at the top and they go in the valley.
Mm.
And some people will actually start gravitate the first one and go in the valley before they end up to the top. The second mountain takes you. You're not taking her. She
Mm.
is.
Oh.
It's all about social. Like it's all about like the social economics and everything. There's so much research. It's been years of research for this book, and I'm loving it because the way he was saying, there was one thing he was talking about, like a very hard subject like suicide, how people don't trust each other anymore, what happened with individualism, what happened, like what we are at now, we're at the end of individualism that started in the 50s because everyone was living, you lived in New York, so you know how it was like in the 50s, everyone in Brooklyn, let's say, they were all like basically living two streets, like basically they were like having all the shop, they were all shopping in the same place, the kids were playing in the same road, and at some point people like were amalgamated, so they actually stopped being one person, they were just one community.
Mhm.
And that kind of started the individuality race of like everyone's like, I want to feel like myself. And then we kind of
Mm.
like shifting now from, we have gone through the end, the stretch of individuality, and now it's actually coming back to knowing who we are and see what is the social purpose that we have for the community and bringing back
Mm.
everything into the community, which I'm like, preach. This book is insanely good, and I love the way he's writing it because he is coming from a place that he would never have wrote that even a few years back. Now he's
Yeah.
just like really got into the valley, and it's like, actually, yeah, I
Mhm.
used to be like, get on top of the first mountain, gravitate, like hustle and everything. It's like, no, when your second mountain is that she takes you.
Mhm.
It's like there is like a huge, like you feel like something is pulling you up, and it could be, and you can incorporate that into any kind of work. You
Mhm.
could be incorporated in having that. You don't have to have a business for that, which I was quite blown away. And the
Mhm.
way some of the people it was portraying, one woman had a brother like and sisterhood like, for young teens that had like some challenges in school and everything, and she got an opportunity to, in one, I think it was Detroit, I think that was Detroit,
Okay.
and she got an opportunity to being offered to actually spread that little charity work in all the US, and she said no, I'm staying where I am, and this is my place. I know I've been living there. I can't vouch about this city because I know it heart in heart. I cannot extend
Mm.
it.
Mhm.
And they go, oh, but you could make so much money. It's not about the money.
Mhm.
It's about what I can give to my community. And I was like, oh my God. Like how this is so insane to be seeing, like there's still people that are just like, I'm doing it not for make, like seeing an opportunity of like retiring by 20, but actually
Mhm.
seeing it like really investing myself into like full heart into something that really lights up my heart. But yeah, I really love that story for
Yeah.
sure.
And that takes a strong like grounding in who you are to be like, "No, I'm staying with my city. I'm not going to get distracted by your shiny paychecks or brand new car, whatever it is you're offering me to
Mm,
go spread my message to other cities that my heart isn't in." So I
mm.
love that. Mm. I wrote that book down. Is this the same person that wrote The Mountain Is You? Because the cover looks
No,
similar.
that's not the same
Okay,
person. No.
so that's a totally different book.
No, the other books that he wrote was more logical based, like it was
Okay.
more old style. I can't remember. He was saying about one of his last books, but this one is actually the book that he wrote after he got through a divorce, which
Okay.
everything like crashed down. Like he was like all about the first mountain and when something happened, and you're like everything like, oh, I was told to take the mountain, and the mountain literally like ballooned, like pushed me into the end rope of the mountains. Like, I don't want to take this one anymore. I got hurt so many times. I'm ready for something else. And then that's the process of that book. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I love that both your books so far are books I haven't read. I feel like I'm gonna have a whole list by the end of this.
Well, I'm definitely excited by your second book,
Yeah.
From Madness to Mindfulness. That sounds so cool. Very, very lovely.
So another book I have, I'll go with this one. So I do have one book on here that's a fiction book. And
Mm.
I don't read much fiction, but I want to more because I mostly read like nonfiction and it's mostly about, like learning and self-improvement. And I'm working on, making more space for play. And I think fiction books really gives you a space to play. Or even a book like Women Who Run with the Wolves, and she's telling myths that gives your mind space to play. And you get really great dreams if you read it before bed. But this book is called Breakfast with Buddha. And it's basically a story about this guy who his parents died and he's supposed to go with his sister to his parents' estate somewhere in like South Dakota or Montana, like that upper north part of America that doesn't have a lot of people. And instead of going with his sister, he ends up going with his sister's boyfriend, who's like this guru meditation guy. And it's like really funny because this character is so annoyed with this guru meditation person who like he can yell at and he's just, standing there calm and then it makes him even more mad. But like throughout the journey, his anger like starts to settle and he starts to become more mindful. So I think it's a very
Mm.
beautiful story. And also, I think I'm also attached to this book because I found this book. There was this yoga studio I used to go to in New York in Manhattan. It was called Humming Puppy. You would
Mm-hmm.
love that place. They play like a sound bowl inside, just like on a loop. There's like always a sound inside, and the walls are all black. It's like a
You
it's
know
like
where
a
to
womb.
find me.
Yeah. It's like a womb, and it was in like downstairs were apartments, and you go upstairs to the studio. But downstairs in the lobby, there was a box that said like free books. And this was on there, and I liked the title, Breakfast with Buddha, because I'm a yoga person, and it ended up being really good. So, yeah, I highly recommend it. It's by Roland Morello.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, like definitely it's going to be like I usually have self-improvement books, but I do like when the books are weaving with stories. I have
Mhm.
one that actually thinking was like, should I actually change one? Listening to you. I think I'm going to have two-headed on my third book, but I love what you were sharing about like, the anger of like basically projecting anger and the person is like, yeah, not my anger, like go
Yeah,
ahead. Yeah, it's just like, okay,
it's so funny.
it's not me. Oh, that's so cool. I really looking forward for that. And I do like book boxes. Just like I actually discovered three book boxes the last month in
Mhm.
Cork, where I'm living in Ireland. And I'm like not really fond into the books. Yes, that's probably the reason I actually bought the paper version of some of my books, because I'm thinking I might some of them get copies and just drop them in those
Yeah,
like
that's when I
get
don't
enlightened.
write. When I don't write or highlight, it's because I think I might give it to the library
Mm.
or because the library doesn't take a book if you write in it.
Ah.
Or to one of those, like here we call it little free library, where it's like a little thing you open. You can put a book, you can take a book. Is that what
Yeah.
it is? The box of
Yeah,
books?
it's like
Okay.
basically like in two shops, like they actually two buckets of books in the on the floor, like two
Mhm.
buckets. And in other places, actually an entire old shop that been transferred as a library. And the rule is drop one book, you can take one. So I did check and I was like, is there something interesting? But it was all about like, more sci-fi and everything, which I'm like, I'm not right now. I'm not into that yet, at least anymore. Like I feel like I don't have much time, so it's not something I want to be giving time towards. But yeah, I found another one when I was actually going to the farm. They have a little shop, like a 24/7 shop. You can get potatoes and like freshly laid eggs and everything. And behind the door, the kids actually found that place. Like they had so many books, and it's just like they picked three of them. We're just like, how do we get this? And we just left with them. They were so excited. And I love those books, even for the kids. Like I feel like it's great because I know they're going to enjoy it because of the covers and everything. And also it's just me and like, you can read them and they're like, I'm less like annoyed.
Yeah.
being ripped
Yeah,
out.
because they were free.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I'm going to pick my third one is actually, I finished it not so long ago. I finished it in January. It's Self-Sorcery
Ooh,
by
you've
Lisa
told me
Lister.
about this one.
It's such a great book. And if you really want to like the biggest part of this book is come in and come down. So it's all about going into the room, into your cave, into your sacredness, and connecting to the goddess within. And there's a lot of like practical, like not practical. There is like rituals that she's inviting you into going through, which is, I really love the way she was writing. And probably one of the reason I did actually enjoy it, like the Audible version is insanely good. I love. And maybe also her story about her condition. She had I cannot say this word. Endometriosis.
Endometriosis.
Yes, exactly. I cannot say this word. And for a while they were saying that she needed to they were going to take her room out, and she said absolutely not. And she went through this healing journey that she doesn't need this anymore. And it's all about, I love the way she's actually talking about embodiment, because I always love that word embodiment, but the way she's saying about it, that resonated so deeply with me. It's in the embodiment, and I'm like,
Ooh.
this makes so much sense. She did trademark it, so I'm not going to be able to use it much.
Yeah.
But it's so, I'm like, if you were to describe someone like embodiment practices, like you're just like, it's in the body meant, like it's like basically it's everything has to do with your body, and everything all about it. It's like a lot of like, it's a lot of witchcrafty kind of things, not like witchy, but she has another book called Witch, which is all about moon cycles and the wind bleeding and everything, but more, I haven't read that one, but definitely going to be probably adding into my next book. And actually if I had to do head and head, The Alchemist.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Did you see? Yeah, oh my God.
I
Because
read
it's
that
just a
one.
story.
Yeah, it's just a story. It's a nice story. I read that one in 2017, so it's been a while. I should read it again. I love coming back to books after a few years because like all of the work that we do, like self-improvement work or even just, life gives you lessons even if you don't try. And then coming back to certain books, it touches you in a new way, and I love that. Even with courses or certain videos that helped you, like if you can come back and watch it again, your perspective changes over time, so you get something different from it.
Exactly.
And that
Have
shows
you
you how your perspective affects what you're receiving. And I feel like this could venture off into a whole different conversation.
to be continued?
To be continued.
But have you tried that with your own course, like the programs that you've created?
Being in
Like
like taking my own
rewatching
work.
some of your old work?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've like definitely seen how much I've grown. And the really, really first things I remember when I rewatched it, I was like cringing. I'm like, oh! Or even like my very first YouTube videos. Now I wish I didn't delete it. But oh my gosh, I wish it was still there just so you can see how different it was. But it was just in every sentence. I'm shaking. I'm like obviously scared to be on the camera.
I love that. But I feel like it's important, and like sometime like a couple of months ago, I watched back some of my masterclass, and I was
Hmm.
like, okay, let me get it not in paper, and it was taking time. But that I delivered. That was I was still learning from my own
Yeah,
mistakes.
nice.
I was like,
Yeah,
I love this. And I was like,
yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing, and I'm like. And as you were saying, like the cringe moment, I feel like I moved away from that cringe moment for a good while now, that I can watch myself with such kinder eyes, that I'm like,
Hmm.
oh my God, I'm so glad that you've done this, because this helped me to where I am today. If you
Yeah.
haven't posted that
Yeah.
like YouTube video, you may not be here today doing what you're doing right now.
That's why I
So
wish I didn't delete it.
you
But
may
it's
find
okay.
it in the old hour drive somewhere. You never know.
Maybe. Yeah, maybe it'll turn up.
With the move. Oh, and your old dusty hour drive. But yeah, and what is your fourth?
Okay, my fourth book, I'll do the one with the tabs that I showed you on Marco Polo today. It has
Drum
like the
roll.
most tabs. So this is called Wheels of Life,
Ooh,
and it basically goes it basically goes in depth of all of the chakras.
wow.
Well, the six chakras. One, two, three, seven chakras. I
Mm.
know that there are more than these. Like the
Yeah,
chakras that go up and down the spine,
there's
there
the
are more.
body ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Mm.
But these go through those. So each chapter starts with like a little poem slash meditation, and then it shares some wisdom about it, and it gives you practices, and I love it. I love reflecting back to it. And yeah, I found this book 2 years ago, and I'm always opening it, and I'm always using it to kind of like ground myself and get my energy right. And I love it. I think it's a very good kind of like Bible type of book for me, for lack of better word.
Mm,
So it's a really good one.
I like that. Yeah, I think I heard about this one. It does remind me of something, but I never read it. But thank you so
Mhm.
much. I'll add that in mind. And I just wanted to say as well, for everyone that's listening to us today, that all the books that we are talking about, you will going to put them in the note section of this podcast, so you can access them most easily. That's much probably most easier if you might driving right now. It's like, give me a second,
Mhm.
I need to take notes. Don't do that. It's all going to be in the show notes for sure. And for my fourth, I don't have a copy of paper copy yet. I do believe I purchased it, but did not receive it yet. And it's a book that actually ended my. Oh, can you hear? Sorry.
Yeah,
Ice
sounds like
cream
a singing
truck.
toy. Oh, that's an ice cream truck? What time is it by you?
So late, nearly 6 p.m. It's crazy. Like
That's
I
late
don't
for an ice
understand
cream
where
truck.
it's coming from. we, we have a random ice cream truck showing up sometimes. Um, and it's called What My Bones Know. And it's a story
Ooh.
biography by Stephanie Fu. Very, very hard to read. Not because it's not, it's actually beautifully written, because she's a journalist, so she learned how to write correct, like really well. But it's a very hard story
Mhm.
of her a childhood story, and she's from a family of immigrants from the Philippines, and all of like there is so much going on in that life, and I'm like, wow, I'm like, it's all about talking about PTSD, anxiety, and all of that. And I feel like I actually my best my brother girlfriend, my sister-in-law, let's put it this way, I
Mhm.
told her about the book, and I said to her it's hard, but she's from the UK, and she thought I was like hard like to read, and
Mm.
she's like, oh, when you said hard, and I actually started reading it, it's like, oh, that's not what I expected. I expected to be hard to read, and I was like, actually this the story is hard to read, because it's also about talking about child abuse, which is
Yeah.
it's very hard to read as a mother as well, but it's just like I felt like it was so beautifully written, because it's a memoir, and it's like such a beautiful hope that things can change and evolve and shift differently, which is what everyone wants. Like you
Mhm.
could have still PTSD, you could still have anxiety, you could still have a decent way of living or a good way of living. Not
Mm-hmm.
it does not define your entire life, which was a great book.
Yeah. Yeah, I love
Mm,
that piece that like she came from such pain and she's really successful now. I've read that
yeah,
book too, and it
you
was
did. You
really
influenced me
hard.
in this one.
That was a
I
book that I
remember.
knew I wanted other people to read it, so I didn't highlight in it and I gave it to the library when I was done. But
Wow.
it's such a good book. It's hard to read and it also is very validating. It's very like I remember reading in there that it's kind of like a permission slip that like if someone in your family is toxic or unhealthy, it's okay to not talk to them. It's okay to set the boundaries. And also, it's okay when your healing journey seems like it's going nowhere or like when you feel like you've improved and then you like fall into that valley to make a reference to the other book that you did. Because like in her story, she was like she was open to so many different ways of healing and she tried so many different things. And I really resonated with her, the part of her that's very like overachiever and like do a lot of things and get a lot of stuff done. And it's interesting to see how that comes from trauma, you know? It's like you're trying to
Mm-hmm.
prove yourself in life and you have to get to a point where you're like, okay, let me just breathe. It's okay to
Mm.
relax. I'm safe. So that's a really good book. It's so
It's
beautiful.
such a good book, and I think like it's the cover that sold it to me.
Yeah, the
Like
cover is
the
gorgeous. When I first saw the
cover,
cover,
I
I was
was
like,
like,
I want
I
that.
saw it and I was like, I need this because I just
Yeah.
saw the cover and I didn't know inside like it was complex trauma. And I was like, I did expect that I was going to be talking about trauma, which I'm very you see my next few books that I'm reading is going I'm going deeper into the trauma stories, but because I'm fascinated about how the epigenetic and the work like how
Mhm.
the human body can heal themselves through very hardship, which is yeah, I love this book. It's been, yeah, I did remember you showing it to me, and I saw from Kyla, a mutual friend that we have, and I was like, my whole body's like, you need this one, and I bought it on Kindle, and I literally did not put it down until it was done. Like,
Yeah,
I
same.
have
I
kids,
couldn't put
so
it
I did
down.
put it down, but
Yeah.
I did not read any other books. I was like, this one needs to be finished before I can
Mhm.
read any other ones.
Mhm. Me too. Yeah, it was hard
So
to put it
yeah,
down.
it was really good. Yeah, really, really good. And how about the fifth? We are at the end. Oh my
Ooh,
God.
fifth book. Okay, so this is a book I've been meaning to read again, so I'm glad we're having this conversation. It's called Powerful and Feminine.
Ooh. I think you told me about this one
This
before.
book is really good. So, this book, I don't think she ever mentions the word embodiment, but
Mm.
the summary is that it's all about embodiment because it starts off with like, have you ever been in a space and you see a woman who everyone just kind of like gravitates towards or looks towards? She's just glowing from the inside and everyone wants to talk to her and stuff. And it teaches you how to become that woman. So
Mm.
there's a ton of practices in there to do with yourself, practices to do with a partner, like ways to speak your desires in a way that's like, I would really like this instead of like, why don't you do this, you know?
I
So,
can't think about two other books that define this
yeah,
this conversation.
yeah.
But yeah, oh, I love that. I remember you telling me about this one, and definitely now that you think that, I think I'm going to buy it and give it to someone that I have in mind. That could be like and again more in like supportive kind of way. Like this could be super helpful in so many ways, and I feel like we both like in the mentoring space, like coaching mentoring space, but I do believe that we have so much answers in the books.
Yeah.
And then like like feel like for and correct me if you believe differently, but I feel like when a client comes to me, it's not asking for the truth, is actually it's just help, like it does need help just to go inward to find the truth. You're just holding space, which is the biggest thing. And I like about this book because it's basically helping you finding your truth, and then you can get a mentor that kind of like holding space so you can actually do the exercise and everything to feel stronger and become more powerful, which I'm all about.
Mm-hmm.
In power, that's something very deeply for me. And I love
Yeah.
it's actually called powerful and non-powered. That's another,
Yeah.
could be
It's not
another
called
subject.
empowered. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, but I agree with you. Like when it comes to working with clients, we're not the ones giving the answers. We're just holding the space, and it's a like co-creative process. Like they receive the answers because they're willing to show up.
Mm,
And when someone shows up for a call, yes, they are showing up, and yes, you are showing up, but you're really just guiding what's coming out of the person. You're not forcing anything.
definitely.
And
I like
that's a place to come to with like I remember when I was a new coach, I wanted so badly to have like a set of questions and like a structure and control and when you really let go of that and realize that, you know, every call is going to be different, even with the same client, every day is going to be different and you just have to surrender
mm,
to the moment, and the work really is in you grounding. Like, you going to yoga or you meditating is you investing in yourself being able to hold space. Like, it's not another certification or reading another book. It's you doing your own thing to be here in the present moment.
yeah, and don't forget co-cutting because we are all connected with other beings, and
Yeah.
sometimes I get very anxious and I don't know where it's coming from. It's not me, it's someone else. Then it's like, okay, bye bye, you don't need that anymore. Um, and my last one, I think I told you about this one, is the Magdalene manuscript.
Ooh.
And it's a book from 2001 or 2000, I can't remember exactly, but it's a full channel of a man, Tom, I can't remember his last name. Give me a second. I have it. Tom Kenyon, and it's called the Magdalene Manuscript: The Alchemy of Horus and Sex Magic of Isis.
Ooh.
Basically, is it's a channel. Like Tom Kenyon actually has been channeling Mary Magdalene frequency and has been from like her frequency had been going through his body, and she's been delivering messages. So it's actually small section, like it's basically little, like it looks like letters.
Mhm.
And she's like really talking about sex magic and the cult of Isis, which was overlapping with the beginning of the Christianity, and it's talking about Joshua before he became Jesus, and like talking about some practices like tantra ish
Mhm.
practices. Like we're probably going to say, if you were to in India, it would be called in Kundalini, but in Egypt it was called differently. It was called sex magic, and
Cool.
alchemy of Horus, and they were like such. It's like basically some practices that they were practicing like over 2000 years ago, even more, because that's like, it was a cult that was around for a lot, and it was really led by women,
Mhm.
very safe, but men were also invited to be exploring that. But it was more about living with really grounding, and all the same time gravitating all the divine energy, like all the auric fields, and strengthening our auric field, that we actually can be a body, but we could actually at some extent we could actually transpose ourselves. We could be here, but we could, with all the energy that we have within our auric field, not physically the ka body, it's like the outside body, we could actually project ourselves in some other places in the world, which would explain why Jesus was seated,
Mm.
sighting, I don't
Sided?
remember,
Sided?
sighted someplace, some weird old places in the world.
Mhm.
Which I really like this book for many things. I really love the Kundalini part, even though that's not the word they use. That really kind of started my deeper journey into body work and somatic. Definitely, I have been a big part of that.
Mhm. I love
Mm.
that. That's going on my list too. There's
The
some
only thing
sort
is on
of
Kindle, it's only on iPhone. Doesn't work on the
okay,
Kindle.
that's
Some
weird.
weird, yeah.
Huh.
they don't have a PDF version either. I was like, can I buy the PDF so I can put on my kid? I was like, no, we don't have it. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a good book. I like the and even like some touch a little bit about quantum physics and everything, which
Ooh.
would sit down with and talk about that. Like not talk, but like listen to people talking to
Yeah.
quantum physics.
There was
Fascinated
one
by
book
that.
about quantum stuff that I almost got to this. I feel like if we had this conversation again in a year, we'd both have totally different books.
Oh yes. We'll do that every year,
Yeah.
reintroducing ourselves. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah, for sure. There is other ones that, we would just had 5, but I probably have more. I just would like to ask you a question. Do you have any books you're currently reading or are like next
Mhm.
hot, like maybe the next 3 hots that you're either currently reading or planning on reading?
Yeah. I'm currently reading Sex at Dawn. I've read it before and I got pissed off at it and I didn't like it. Um, but at that time I was like newly engaged, so I was like in more of a romantic state of mind. Um, but in all honesty, I'm reading it because it's required for the coaching program I'm in. Otherwise, I wouldn't be reading it because I hated it the first time. But I use the Goodreads app, and there was a book that I recently marked as want to read where I'm like, I want this book now. But I'm just like, I have so many books on my shelf that I haven't read yet because I'm always so quick to buy them. But let me see, where is it? It was something called like Wild. Oh, here's my want to read list. Um, There's something about like it's like embodiment and like healing trauma through the body.
Mhm.
But I'm not finding it. There's also a controversial book that came out, a memoir. I don't know if you know Jeanette McCurdy from Nickelodeon. I don't know if they have Nickelodeon where you
No,
are, but it
I know
was like,
Nickelodeon, but I don't know that. No, I don't. I never heard of her.
so there's this girl who was an actress on Nickelodeon when she was younger. Woman, not girl. Her name is Jeanette McCurdy.
Mm-hmm.
And she wrote a memoir called I'm Glad My Mom Died,
Wow.
which the title is like, whoa. And in the memoir, she talks about, what it was like to have a mother that basically like forced her to be an actress when she wanted to be a writer. And
Mm.
I've seen some reviews about it on YouTube, and it sounds really good. And
I'm
I
definitely going
want
to
to
add
read
it
that.
as well.
Hmm.
There is like so much like taboo around mother, like and
Yeah.
some level of like I feel like it does really for me. It feels like same thing with like my bones know like abuse. The biggest abuse
Yeah.
was her mother, and it's so much about we cannot talk about mothers for some or like we're talking about like patriarchy, but matriarchy is very unsaid too.
Hmm.
And yeah, I'm definitely going to be going in to explore that one for sure. And one more.
So the book I was looking for, I can't find, but I know that there's a book on my shelf called Pleasure Activism that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to read that one. But I'm reading like 5 books where I'm like, I need to finish them first.
True. Oh yeah, I like that. Oh, well, for me, the next 3 books that I have, and one that you actually probably currently reading or you finished with is The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh yeah, I recently
You
finished that
know,
one. That one's hard to read.
I love it.
It's not,
I just started, but I do like
yeah,
the way it's actually written. But I
yeah,
didn't expect that thickness.
yeah. And
It's so
it's
thick.
very dense. So for me at least, like when I first
Hmm.
started, I could only read like 2 pages at once. And then as I read it, it got easier. But I also think it's not super trauma informed because sometimes when he was explaining what some of his clients went through, I could like feel their their
Yeah.
trauma.
Well, the first chapter is like we go straight into the
Yeah.
case. So I'm like,
Yeah.
a little TMI would have been
Yeah,
appreciated.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I feel like it's been, I cannot find on this book when it's published, but the way it's been written looks like it has been published a couple of, like at least over decades ago. So that could probably
Yeah.
explain the
It's a
the
little
social, like
old.
the
Hmm.
trauma informed is kind of new, a new way of leading books and everything. So that would be my next, like the next book I'm currently on reading. And Marianne Williamson, Divine Conversation. I'm feeling like
Ooh.
I like the way, just the divine conversation, because I feel like, even though we're definitely going to do another episode about manifestation together, but the divine conversation feels like another word for manifestation, feel like that feels better to me.
Yes.
um
Instead of
it's a compensation. It's just like it's a and in hand it's a co-creation, which feels better than manifestation. It's like I'm sitting on my
manifestation.
chair and I ask and it fell on my lap. No, it's not happening this way, at least for now, at least. That'd be the next two books, but I'm thinking I have other ones that I'm wanting to read, and there's actually The Womb Awakening.
Oh, that's so funny you mentioned that because when you said Mary Magdalene, I thought of a photo that's in that book.
Oh yeah, with
That
the
really
in
calls me.
Ireland.
I don't know if it
They
was
have like a
Ireland.
cave, like a room cave in
I'm gonna
Ireland.
go get it.
In go. Yeah, it's an edited podcast, so we're just going to be waiting on Cilia to come back, but she's back, just back. Yay.
But there's a photo in here that like really calls to me that I just like I want it in a frame. And
Mm.
it's Mary Magdalene, this one.
I saw that one yesterday and I was like, she's so pretty.
Yeah, I
The
love it.
hair, it feels like it could have been done yesterday. It's just
Yeah.
like from a from the Renaissance kind of standpoint, feels like so avant-garde. So yeah, it's
Hmm.
such beautiful. Yeah, I like that
So
too.
gorgeous.
I was cool with this one too, and I was like, oh my God, just like there is something into it. But yeah, that
Is
would be
this
my
the cave
next.
that you were
Yeah,
mentioning?
that's the cave. It's like
Mhm.
it's a couple of good hours, a few hours down up in north, but it's accessible for
You should
me
go
because
there.
it's
Yeah.
Ireland. Yeah, sometimes being three kids is not always.
I haven't finished this book. I'm like half.
I love that Celia, when she's reading books, her bookmarks are fake $100 bills. I love this. It's
I have
so
a friend who gave me a stack of these, and I'm like, what do I do with them? I use them as bookmarks.
I love that. I love every time it's like, oh, you have 100. She got the
I've
book
dropped it
got
on a
stolen.
plane before. I've dropped my bookmark on a plane, and I'm just like, eh. And then someone's like, you lost your money.
That was a good person, though.
Yeah, true.
Because some people will be like, oh, she forgot about it. That's good. But yeah, it's interesting the kind of books that we are going through, and some of them that we are kind of co-reading. Like, we have like in the path of reading or in the process of rereading together. And it's lovely to even see that we have books that we've read, but at the same time they are not in always in our top 5, which is such a beautiful thing to share.
Yeah. Is there a topic that you are focusing on with your reading right now?
Trauma.
Yeah.
But trauma in the somatic level. So this reason I'm like the next body, like the body keeps the score, felt like we got attacked by a cat and the nose.
She jumped up and something fell and it scared her.
I loved it. Yeah, like for me it's trauma. But trauma in the somatic content, because there is another book that I'm going to listen to, and it's the consent. I'll give you, I put it in the show note. It's all about consent. There's something different. It's not about relationship or something like that. But it's all about like I'm training as becoming a continuity body worker. So that really feels like everything I can read about trauma that actually mesmerized me. And of course, probably like from like childhood upbringing and past lives light that I need to still unweaved. That would be kind of my direction. How about yourself?
For me, it's sexuality right now.
Mm,
Yeah. I was in the
I'm so
trauma
excited for
side for a
that.
while, and now I'm like venturing into the sexuality side.
Mm,
There's so much to learn. What's crazy is like not only is there so much to learn in sexuality, but there's just so much to learn in life in general. I'm always
mm.
learn I'm always like discovering something new and I'm like, "Wait, what? Wow." No wonder we need AI to hold all the information.
So many things. Yeah, I like that, and I feel like the thing is with body work and Kundalini is part of life force, so it's actually kind of talking with sexuality, and some of the books are
Mm,
a weave with body work and but at the same time sexuality with it. And like I've been working in some capacity with a body worker in Ireland, and she gave us like so much resources and even like how to discover the G point. I know we're talking about books right now, and then we just went back to the G the G point. But like it's quite interesting to just say that from not so long ago in many books, it was not even in the books for women how
yeah.
to see where it was. So that's quite interesting, and I'm always in like really interesting about anything you can learn about alchemy because
Mhm,
alchemy is alchemizing the trauma
mhm.
through life force energy, which is like life,
Yeah.
a life's work.
Yeah, I know. I love it. So,
Yeah.
for everyone listening, just so you know, all the episodes won't be this long. This is just our get to know us episode. Yeah.
Yes.
We're
We are
planning
aiming
on,
of like 20 minutes ish, but actually we cannot see how long we've been in
yeah.
on this one.
I think we're almost at an hour.
Yeah, so this is the first episode that we have going on, but at the same time, we'd love to hear from you first. So if you have any subject you'd like for us to cover, just let us know. There is a couple of one that we have in mind. It might have been pre-recorded before we release this episode, but yet we always open as this podcast is all about spirituality, consciousness, soma, and sexuality as well. So it's just shoot out a DM on Celia's Instagram or to myself. Every details of us are in the show notes. And yeah, I'm going to leave you with that. And if Celia has a last message, I say bye
Yeah.
for myself.
Just thank you all for listening, and we really appreciate you being here and giving us your attention and your awareness. And we're beaming so much virtual love to you, whether you're watching on video or listening to the audio.
Amazing. Thank you so much, guys, and have a great one. See you the next one.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Unfiltered Awareness. If you enjoy this episode and you want to support the podcast, you can do so by rating and reviewing us on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever it is that you listen to podcasts. You can follow our podcast YouTube channel, which is linked below. You can also find us individually on Instagram. You can find Lucie at callme.lucie, and you can find Cilia at selfexpressedbabe. Both of those are linked in the caption below. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you next time.